World War II. Occupied Italy. A Brazilian pilot, shot down, alone and wounded, forced to cover almost 248 miles in enemy territory, defying all the odds. With cunning and courage, he outwitted the German troops, going against all survival protocols and becoming a legend. Welcome to Brazil and Beyond, Stories and Wars channel. In today's episode, we tell the story of Lieutenant Danilo Marques Moura and his cinematic escape in occupied Italy. Danilo was a Brazilian pilot who served as a second lieutenant aviator in the 1st Fighter Aviation Group of the Brazilian Air Force during the Second World War. Born in Cachoeira do Sul, Rio Grande do Sul, he was the younger brother of Nero Moura, the group's commander. The group played a crucial role in the Second World War, carrying out more than 400 missions in the Italian campaign on the side of the Allies. These pilots fought intense air battles and carried out strategic bombing raids against Nazi fascist targets. The American hosts, impressed by our boys' extreme ability to identify ground targets, asked, "How is it possible that you find so many ground targets, and we don't?" One of the Brazilians replied, "It's just that, in Brazil, we don't have maps, radio or navigation instruments. That's why we have to be good at finding things on the ground." During his 11th mission on February 4, 1945, near Treviso, Italy, Danilo was shot down by German anti-aircraft artillery and was forced to abandon the aircraft at a very low altitude, hitting the ground with great violence seconds after the parachute opened. In the crash, he suffered injuries to his hip, as well as mouth and tongue damage, making it difficult for him to speak. With his gun in hand and still trying to get his bearings, he spotted the image of a young Italian partisan who helped him hide in a pile of hay while he collected his parachute. This would be the first shelter where Danilo would spend the night. The partisans were rebellious Italian civilians who fought against the German invasion and helped the Allies. The song Bella Ciao, popularized in the Spanish series Money Heist, talks about them. The next morning, the young man returned with food and hot drinks, as well as clean clothes. The young man reported that the Germans were already looking for him and another pilot who had also been shot down. Joel Miranda. We'll be able to talk about him another time if you react positively to this video. With no supplies and in hostile territory, he decided to take an unconventional route. Instead of avoiding roads and towns, as the manual states, he walked openly along the main thoroughfares, disguising himself as a civilian and blending in with the local population by using his difficulty in speaking to disguise his accent. And so began his 24 days, 248 miles, walk back to the Allies' base at Pisa. He would approach Germans to ask for cigarettes and water, always telling the same sad story, that he had lost his family in a bombing raid. He received help from some Italians who, sympathizing with his condition, gave him food and shelter. Others, suspicious, expelled him. At one point he went into a barber's shop to ask for help, and it was full of German officers. Danilo quickly gave the Nazi salute and offered to clean the enemy's boots in exchange for a few bucks and a little more time to live. On the banks of the Pa River, Danilo realized that he was in danger. The German army controlled access to the bridge, allowing only those with a pass to cross. Several times, he queued in the hope of getting one. However, when his turn came, he simply saluted and left. One day, a nearby farmer, who was watching him attentively, approached him for a brief chat. At one point, he started laughing and said, "My friend, I'm sorry, your story is impressive, but luckily the Germans didn't notice your American boots and your aviator watch." Danilo was uncomfortable, but soon discovered that the farmer was a member of the resistance. The man offered him shelter for a few days until the partisans could get a pass for the crossing. With the document in hand, Danilo even borrowed his host's old bicycle, promising to return it when everything was over. Thus, he managed to cross the bridge without any major difficulties. A few days later, when he saw a cart passing by, Danilo accelerated and grabbed onto the side of the vehicle. A German soldier, who was also on a bicycle, did the same. 4 kilometers, they rode side by side. At one point, noticing his watch, Danilo froze. If the German noticed, it would be the end of him. At the first crossroads, he let go of the cart and, before setting off, thanked him in Italian. In Bologna, Danilo was taken in by an old woman who was sweeping her yard, receiving food, shelter, and the support of the partisans. And here I add a detail that I remember from an old reading, although I haven't been able to confirm it in any source. On another mission over Bologna, the pilots spotted German forces. At that moment, the commander announced, "Nobody fires a shot, because somewhere here lives the lady who helped Danilo." After many challenges, Danilo finally arrived at the base in Pisa, 6 days after crossing the river and 19 kilos thinner. Even though he was still far from home, he felt at home for the first time in a long time. His friends, amazed by the fantastic story, wrote a 5-act opera called The Escape of Danilo Marques, which is now staged annually on Fighter Aviation Day, April 22nd, as a tribute. Once the conflict was over, Danilo returned to visit the Italians who had helped him. He presented the farmer with a new bicycle. The boy who saved his parachute at the first contact used the silk to make a wonderful wedding dress for his sister, and everyone was equally moved by the visit. An emotion that takes hold of me as I write these words. Blessed is the man who endures hardship with perseverance, for when he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life, which the Lord has promised to those who love him. James chapter 1 verse 12. I pay tribute to all the members of the 1st Fighter Aviation Group of the Brazilian Air Force and hope that this video will help to keep alive this history that must not be forgotten. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.